Alright, everybody. I'm just gonna start talking right away just because what will happen is this video will loop and people will be able to see it as an actual video later. So I'm gonna get right into it even though there's nobody really in here as of yet. YouTube will hopefully tell you guys that I'm doing this and then we'll get some people in here. In fact, I think, bear with me here, but I'm gonna grab this thing, copy this, go to my Facebook and put it up for people to see there, and put it on Twitter as well. And just bear with me if you're watching this later or if you're live and I don't see you in there. Just trying to paste this jaunt. I guess I can kind of start explaining what's going on. This video is going to recap the two panels that I went to today, and kind of tell you about what happened in the panels, what I learned, and things like that. And live streaming from Aniversery on YouTube right. Okay, so let's get right into this. So first of all, I need to explain, if you watch the live stream that I did in the morning, you'll already be with it. But so essentially yesterday, I drove down from Philadelphia. It was a really long day, and I got to the convention center, and I basically just went right into the convention center because in order to get into the 40th anniversary, that's what you had to do. You had to go in there and get in line. You essentially get in line to get one of these wristbands that will then get you into the panels. And then after that, you basically get in line to queue in for the panels. So, really crazy busy morning. I'm running on like 3 hours of sleep right now. Essentially, I went in and right away after getting my wristband, I did that little live stream in the morning, which you can find on the channel, I believe. And then after that, went right back to the convention center and got in line to get in. Now this is what was crazy. So by the time we left, and we left for only about an hour, and when we came back to the convention center, the line to even get into the place to go through security was over a mile long. So we had to go to the very back of this line. It was crazy. We got in and then basically made our way up to the front of the line. Finally got in there. We got in to the queue line right at the very end, and we were worried about getting bad seats for the 40th anniversary panel. So then they take the queue line over to basically where the panel is itself, and we're running in, and it's lit. We're like, there's like no seats in this place whatsoever, right? And so essentially, as we continued to go into the panel and whatnot, we got super lucky, and like the force was like working in mysterious ways, because they started to ask people what was, or if there was somebody who had a uh, extra seat, please put your hand up. And so some people put their hands up, and I don't think they exactly knew what was going on right off the bat, because the people that put their hand up were actually in the press section, right? And so there's these two seats, and I was with my one friend, and we're walking over there, and there's two seats available in the press section. So we go to sit there, and then this guy on the end, there was these two guys, and this guy on the end was like, well, this is for press. You can't sit in here, you know, kind of being a douche about it. And the people in the middle were luckily like, no, just come on in, like, whatever. And so we walked past them, we sat down. So we're in the press section, really good seats, watching the whole panel go down. Essentially, as far as the panel itself, right off the bat, it was crazy. So Warwick Davis comes out, kind of does his thing. It was really cool. Introduces Kathy Kennedy, so Kathy Kennedy comes out, and then this was rumored, but it wasn't confirmed or whatever. Essentially, what happened next was Kathy Kennedy starts talking about Star Wars and how awesome it is, and things like that. And she said that none of it would exist at all without the creator, without George Lucas, essentially. And what's what's really crazy from here is we all get this vibe where we're like, well, that means George is going to come out, right? Here, hang on 1 second. And so essentially, like when he came out, it was awesome. The whole crowd goes nuts. Um, and he starts, talking, and he sits down, and essentially, like, we didn't know how much of the panel he was actually going to be on, but like he was essentially, it was his panel essentially. Like the way that it all went down was, he literally ran the show. So he brings out various people, okay, and there's a ton of different people that came out. I believe the first, oh man, I'm like running on like no sleep, so I can't remember exactly who came out, but I'll tell you what really stood out to me: the Ian McDermott, and Christian, or Hayden Christensen rather, their little thing, because Hayden Christensen comes out with Ian McDermott. They're talking about, filming in the prequels and different things like that. It was really really cool. The crowd was really warm for Hayden Christensen, which was awesome, and it helped that Ian McDermott was there because he is the best part of those movies, other than Ewan McGregor, and everybody was really really into it. So that was cool, telling like little stories, and George was there the whole time. So they're all. What was really cool is every single person that they brought out was talking to George essentially about different things that had happened when they're shooting the movie back in the day, which I found very interesting, and it was nice. So then, C3PO, and Chewbacca, and Lando Calrissian, of course, their respective actors, all came out and they were talking, and it was really really cool. Same thing going on, talking about their experiences and all this stuff. And then they dropped a huge bomb. Harrison Ford came out, and we kind of knew Harrison Ford was going to come out by the way that they kind of explained it and went into it or whatever. And so that was really cool. He came out, got a big standing ovation. They made some jokes about him flying in and landing on the floor because he's a pilot and crashed, of course, while filming Force Awakens, which was really, really cool. Um, they bring out Mark Hamill, really awesome. People are kind of leaving and going and everything like that. Then they did this really, really awesome segment where they talked about Carrie Fisher, and they had a really nice video explaining what was going on, or the life of Carrie and why she was so important and everything. It was really, really emotional. It was really cool. And then, like, literally right at the end, after all these awesome stories and all these awesome people talking about Star Wars, and the hype was just so real, everybody was really excited. That after all of that, essentially, they pull back this curtain, and John fucking Williams gets on and starts doing his thing. So I got to see John Williams conduct an orchestra playing Star Wars music live. It was the coolest fucking experience of my life, and got a lot of cool footage when I was in there. Sat, like I said, sat in the press booth, or in the press section. Watched the whole panel. It was really, really cool. I'm gonna do a proper recap of the things that went on because I did some recording and stuff. I'll do that later, but this is just a little live stream I wanted to do to get my thoughts out there. Then immediately after the panel, I'm like super hyped, and I get into the queue to go to the Star Wars Rebels. Well, it's called the Animation Origins and Unknown Ends panel with Pablo Hidalgo and Dave Filoni, who are both, prominent members of the story group. Dave is obviously the director, writer, producer of Rebels and Clone Wars before it. So that was pretty cool. But honestly, the panel was kind of a letdown. They did show us some cool stuff, cool concept art, things, told us cool stories about design and everything like that, but there was no announcements made. And the Q&A section that we were promised in that panel, they didn't have time for, because they took so much time going over stuff, having the 501st clones come up, and it was super bizarre. So that panel ended up kind of being a letdown, so to speak. So yeah, I was expecting to learn some stuff. They kind of teased and talked about the panel that would be coming on Saturday morning, and that would be the official Rebels panel, which I am of course going to go to, and I'm excited to recap that for you guys too. After I go there, hopefully get some more information at that time. But Yeah, essentially, that's all I really wanted to do in this video was just kind of recap and talk about those two panels. But honestly, the biggest thing, the biggest highlight of the day for me was getting to witness John Williams actually conducting Star Wars music. It was beautiful, man. Like we just all kind of stood there and just kind of basked in it. It was amazing, something that I'll probably never experience again in my life. And as a big Star Wars fan, it's just crazy. So like when I got out of the 40th anniversary panel, I did a little Instagram video, which was totally true and totally real. And it was like, when you spend all this time essentially sleeping on concrete and waiting in line and doing all these things, driving a long distance, spending a lot of money, you're doing this because you love this thing. And you don't know how these people that curate the thing that you love, you don't know how they're going to treat that and how they're going to disseminate information and entertain you and give you all the things that you desire. There was so much care given to this panel itself. It was amazing, something that I'll honestly never forget. And it did overshadow the other panel a bit, but such a awesome experience. So I'm sorry this video is a little bit whack. I'm running on like 3 hours of sleep for the past like 55 hours, so I should probably go get some sleep, which I think I'm gonna do, and then get in line for The Last Jedi later today. But anyways, guys, I wanted to just kind of put this video up there. And I'm going to be doing some official coverage, some in-depth videos later tonight, get some files up for you, some collaborations with the Rebel Scum podcast and those guys over there. So, look forward to checking all of that out. And as I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and nerdy day. See ya!